Hello lovely people. Remember back in January when I made it one of my goals to try to do one book review a month? In case you've forgotten.
Is to review at least one book a month.
Well, since I failed in the month of February, today you're getting a 2-for-1 special. Both novels I want to discuss with you today can be fit into the romantic genre, but the great thing about both of these is that they are so much more than that. On the surface, they are very different though. One is definitely YA, while the other is blatantly adult. One is told from a female protagonist's perspective, and the other is told from a male protagonist, amongst other things. As the title above spoiled for you, the two books that I'm going to be talking about today are Just One Day by Gayle Foreman and Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami. Just One Day by Gayle Foreman was published by Dutton Juvenile in January 2013, and as you can tell, I read the ebook edition. This novel tells the story of a young girl named Alison Healy who is on a very structured European tour with a large group of young people. She's not having the best of times. She finds it kind of dull, but towards the end of the trip, her and her friend sneak off to see a guerrilla-style performance of Shakespeare's Twelfth Night, and that's when everything begins to change. There, she first comes in contact with Willem, a Dutch actor. The next day they run into each other, and he suggests that she goes on a spontaneous day to Paris, so they spend a day and evening in Paris. But the next morning, Willem has disappeared without a trace. Alison had really thought that they had formed a special bond together, so naturally she was very devastated, but it was time for her to return home. The rest of the novel is about Alison coping with the emotions and the feelings of that one day. First off, I just want to talk about the writing of this book. Gayle Foreman has this way of taking these plots that on the surface seem really cliche and just knocking me off of my feet. She beautifully captures emotions, especially those of younger people, and Just One Day was no exception. I mentioned that Just One Day was more than a romance, and that's because it is. The first third of the novel is where the romantic part of the story is. The rest of the novel is about Alice discovering aspects of her life that are truly important to her, like her love of travel and the appreciation of Shakespeare. I feel like ultimately this novel centers on the idea of finding what you love in order to truly love yourself. Just One Day is this beautiful coming-of-age novel packed with travel porn, Shakespeare references, and a smidge of romance. I absolutely love this book and already consider it a favorite. Can I just say that ending? If you've read it, you know what I mean. I need that companion novel now. Now on to Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami. This was originally published in 1987, but this edition was published in 2000 by Vintage Books and translated to English by J. Rubin. Now, the plot of Norwegian Wood is a little harder to nail down because I feel like it is a book mostly driven by the character. Norwegian Wood is told from the perspective of Toru, who is a young, intelligent college student just starting college. His devotion and loyalty is totally given to a beautiful, thoughtful young lady named Naoku. They are connected to each other initially by their high school best friend who committed suicide. The beginning of the novel is mostly just Toru adapting to his new life until he comes across Naoku and he begins to fall in love with her, but she is still greatly affected by the early death of her lover from high school. Unfortunately, spirals into a depression. The novel is basically Toru dealing with Naoku's breakdown and trying to stay close to her in any way that he can. Meanwhile, he meets another very fascinating young lady. I am so anxious and hesitant to talk about this book because I feel like nothing I really do this novel justice. The writing in this novel is gorgeous. The characters are heartbreakingly real, and the setting, which I believe it's in the 1960s in Tokyo, even though it was set in a different decade, this book was written in a way that even with the references to certain music, I still felt very connected and it felt very timeless. It was an extremely poignant novel. Actually, poignant is the perfect word for this novel. This novel is written for a mature audience. There are a fair amount of intimate scenes in this novel, but for me, it didn't distract or take away anything. I would recommend this book for those over the age of 18. I feel like this would be a great book for someone in their early to mid-20s who really loved looking for Alaska but is looking for something a little more mature and relatable to their age group. It is ultimately this coming-of-age novel about a young man falling hopelessly and tragically in love with an unreachable girl. It is the first novel that I have read by Murakami. It will certainly not be the last. And this novel is quite different from all of the other novels that he's written. This is the one that's probably most founded in reality. If you can't tell, this book has also become a favorite of mine. I don't know if you noticed the similarities in these books. I feel like the biggest similarity is that they are first and foremost coming-of-age novels with romance as a vehicle are a motivation to reach the all-important goal of living life to the fullest and discovering who you are along the way. At least to me. So in conclusion, I would like to give you my top 3 reasons why I think you should read these books. Number 1 is the writing. They are excellent in completely different ways, but excellent nonetheless. They captured the emotions and the characters so well. Number 2, they are great escapes. I found these novels were superb ways of escapism. Even though they are both set in completely realistic worlds, they are both so captivating, and since they are set in settings that I'm not incredibly familiar with, that also helped, because it kind of took me away to these different times and places. And my third reason why I think you should read these books is that they have very well developed characters. Both protagonists took their life experiences and grew from them in a very satisfying way. If I've convinced you to read either of these novels, I will leave links in the description to places where you can buy these 2 books. And if you have read either of these books, I would love to know your thoughts and feelings on them in the comments. Thank you guys all so much for watching. I should be back very soon with a few new videos, and until then, bye!